If your intention is to realize the deepest mysteries of life, then the question to ask yourself isn't who am I, it's what am I? In the specificity of such self-inquiry, we shift our awareness from the limiting belief systems of the ego, also known as the prison of human identity, and we take the very first steps into our subatomic quantum potential. What does that mean? Just by changing the way we perceive ourselves from who we think we are to considering the possibilities of what we actually are, our minds begin to open, possibly more than they ever have. And the reason why is because thought is a tool, meaning it has very practical and necessary uses. But because no one ever taught us how to make the most of this tool, our application of it is very limited, and we become self-absorbed as a result of our ignorance. Most of our thoughts consist of conscious and subconscious life experiences all mixed together that repeat themselves constantly in our mind's eye. And more often than not, this leaves us feeling separated from our bodies, other people, nature, and the universe. The answers to the question of who am I leaves us with a very narrow, limited viewpoint of perceiving our relationship with the world. However, when we come to the realization of what we are before we consider who we are, then suddenly our relationship to life goes far beyond the limitations of our conditioned identity. Only asking who we are limits us to the perception of our ego. But asking what we are allows who we are to identify with the infinite aspects of the natural world, including all the visible and invisible elements of our universe, elements that affect all of us, whether we realize it or not. And this type of contemplation does a lot more than just open our minds. It opens our hearts. And when you begin to feel how energetically connected you are to everything you perceive in this world, you begin to realize that you're not alone and that you never have been. And with our hearts and minds wide open and in coherence with each other, our very human body, that was once a place for our continuous isolation and suffering, is now transformed into a temple of infinite awareness, the soul's dwelling place. And it is there that we find the essence of what we really are. Once we know what we are, the realization of who we are becomes self-evident. The limitlessness of our universal nature propagates itself into what was once the suffering sustained by our human belief systems. And at that point, making choices that further the expansion of our self-awareness become our top priority, because now we know that who and what we are is nothing short of a miracle. And that miracle is exceedingly invaluable and important to contemplate. As individuals inhabiting this world, we aren't all alone in a dead universe. That's an old scientific view that's still maintained by many closed-minded individuals and institutions. It's an error in thought, and that closed-minded level of thinking is catastrophic to the health and well-being of us all. It's time to open our hearts and minds and move out of the shallows of the thinking pool and dive headfirst into the depths of oceanic feeling. Because the more probable reality is that we as individuals are all one in a self-aware, living universe that collectively is becoming even more self-aware of its own existence through us. When we focus on what we are in the greater flow of life. When we focus primarily on who we are, we cut ourselves off from this flow. Remember, focus on realizing what you are first, and then who you are will come into focus. Thank you.